How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews, back with yet another review. Aged beer time. I think it's 2015 beer time in the form of the North Brewing. It's the Sniper and the Poet. This is a beer brewed in collaboration with Dr. Keith Montesano, whoever that is, and it is a wild oak ale aged in oak barrels. 7% alcohol by volume, courtesy of my boy Keith via a couple different parties. North, I've done a couple of their beers over the past couple years. I lived semi-relatively close to these guys, but I haven't had anything from these guys barrel big beer-wise in a while. I just reviewed their Double Diamond, I think it was. It was a hazy IPA, but I'm kind of excited to dig into this because I believe it's 2015 vintage. Ooh, I just pinched my finger there. That hurts. I'm a fragile guy. And ooh, I like that little bit of hiss there. Now, you're talking about an old ale, but you're all talking about a wild old ale. So I don't know if they're going for the sour route on this, or they could be doing the open fermentation, like legit, like old stock ale thing. I don't know. We're going to drink it, and we're going to figure it out. So we'll see what's what. Give that a pour. Because old ales can be some of my favorite styles of beers in general. Give my buddy Keith a pour there. And label-wise, I actually dig this. I've always really enjoyed the Norse labels in general, but something about this, just kind of dig it. Anyway, I mean, what does she look like? If I was going to say from a distance, not knowing anything about this liquid, I would say that's iced tea. It looks exactly like you put way too much powder in your powdered iced tea. Not necessarily a bad thing. So you get that rich kind of mahogany, ruby tunes, with little tones? Modem tones, combined with not a murkiness, just kind of relative clearness, soft carbonation. Look kind of nice. It's got a nose. Udbrun. That's kind of what she smells like to me. She has a big caramel cherry character, but there's a tartness to it. So it kind of makes sense what they're talking about here. So we're talking about a wild oak ale, Udbrun. I mean, it really does come off that way for me. So there's soft vanilla tones, and that just rich tartness. So it's cherries all the way. And just a nice kind of richness to it that doesn't necessarily get right into that kind of brown sugar kind of caramel level. But she smells pretty fun. It smells like she's going to come off a little bit thin. But I'm not getting a ton of oxidation on it either. So you're talking about a 2-year-old beer. Let's just dive in. Cheers. That's really pleasant. I mean, it is an Udbrun. That is what this beer is. It's a Flanders Udbrun. It's what this beer wants to be. It's not, I wouldn't go as far as to calling it sour, but there is something beyond that. So you're talking about a wild oak aged ale. It's spot on for that. It does have subtle wild characteristics, and it's definitely an old ale. It doesn't get to that kind of sugar daddy, raisinette level that I like my old ales to get, more specifically ones with age. So you're talking about a beer that has 4 years on it. It's not getting to that level, but it has this creepily drinkable cleanliness to it. It's like it's not a dirty beer, which you think about age, you think about oxidation, you think about wild ale. Those are the kind of things that pop in your head. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of kind of drift in either direction. It drinks super easily. You get those soft cherry tones, soft sweetness. It's kind of cherry cordial without that hefty chocolate. A little bit of soft vanilla. A decent amount of dryness. I believe that's coming from the yeast, and a bit of kind of probably like oak vibes coming from this thing. I like this. It's really tasty beer. This is probably one of, if not my favorite beer I've ever had from the North. Let's put it that way. I have no idea what this tasted like when it first came out. Like I said, I think it came out in 2015. I know a couple of my friends have had this. But the way this drinks, how easily drinkable it is, how neutral it is. When I talk about neutral, when I talk about breweries like Suarez, stuff like that, or Hill Farmstead, sometimes I throw out the old analogy of it just kind of belongs. Like when you drink it, it just makes sense in your body to where your body's not reactive towards it. It's not going to give you heartburn. It's not going to give you indigestion. It's not going to give you any of those kind of things. Like the pH balance of the beer is in tune with your body, that's kind of how this one sits. And that's, I mean, you're talking about a couple-year-old beer, barrel-aged wild ale from a brewery that was kind of shoots from the hip quite a bit, especially back in the olden days of 2015. I think it's pretty fucking fantastic, to be perfectly honest with you. Is it going to set the world on fire? Is it one of my favorite kind of wild, funky, brewing-ish, American-born beers that I've ever had in my life? No, it's not the best one I've ever had, but it's one of the better ones I've had in quite some time, and that's pretty fucking awesome. Valued availability. It's a 4-year-old beer. What do you want? And leave you with, if you like what we like this, if you like Oud Bruin. I know that's kind of like a kind of beating a dead horse kind of thing, but it kind of makes sense to me. Tasty, delicious. I dig it. I think it's really fun and a really damn good beer. There you go. Another review in the books. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Excuse me, get a burp. No, I don't. Massive Beers at gmail.com, or Massive Beers in general, and then Beer Massive for the podcasting stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice little aged home jammer right now, and hope to see you next time. Cheers.